testimony. Father, I thank you for your word. It says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And I just pray, Father, that this testimony would just give you all the glory. So I actually titled my testimony because I think it's really awesome. And it's titled, I Said Yes. So I took Pastor Sally's sermon on Have You Heard Geri and what you're doing about it. And I took it to heart, and God gave me revelation, real revelation on it. Not to mention a whole new level in my relationship with him. I also reflected on Libby and Paula's sermons the week before, and they talked about surrender and purpose. And I found that in surrender, when I was mulling all of this and trying to walk out the little steps God was giving me, I found that in the surrender, the purposes of God for my destiny will come to pass, and has come to pass in so many little steps. Huge revelation was manifested for me this past week. So in surrender to God's purposes, hearing clearly and doing for God came relatively easy for me this week, with peace. And that's only because I rested in Him, and I stayed in Him. So this Africa trip that's coming up in January, I contemplated for a long time. The problem was, I contemplated with my flesh, and not with God. So there was the problem. And I had many excuses to prolong. But God. So anyway, this week I shared with you guys, because He just blew me away again this week. So I shared with you guys a little bit of my testimony about my lunch. So Tuesday night after Bible study, God said to me, go to Africa in January. I was like, okay, yes, God. And when I said yes, God opened up the doors and flooded my heart. I shared on Thursday about my lunch and on the chat and how that simple illustration was so profound for me because I heard God audibly in that whole day of what He shared with me on my lunch. I had a simple ham sandwich I shared with you guys. And I told you all about everything that came to play, but God gave me more than that. The thing is, it wasn't just about the provision of the hard-boiled egg and the Tumon and all those things. Those were great. Those were awesome. But it was more than that. I heard Him audibly. And the words to everyone in that day were the words of God in my heart. He said, I have something for you. I want to give you something. And I have spiritual food for you to eat. So when I surrendered and I said yes, doors of freedom opened up. Freedom that Lily talked about in her sermon. Freedom not to be anxious or worried. I had freedom to fully trust and not doubt Him. That is freedom, and that was just something that I had never experienced. I experienced freedoms from God, but they were little. This was profound. This was huge this week. In surrender, I heard clearly His will and His purposes, like Paula talked about. God has purposes. And I really sought Him in the three of you in your sermons. I really sought God in all of those things. And He was so good to me to reveal so much. He gave me knowledge to obey. That's huge. He gave me knowledge to obey. And even when it didn't make sense or people looked at me like I was crazy, like Libby preached, surrender unlocks the door to obedience. So it really took that absolute surrender. So then on Thursday, this was huge answer to prayer. So all of you know that, I've been trying to get the house all in order. This was a 10-year span, guys. Just like my Africa trip, everything was 10 years. Now this is significant. Very significant. This is all God. My house sale closed on Friday. Praise God. And it was earlier because I was told it was going to be this week, Friday. So that was gone. And so even before this, God had given me steps and works to do in the meantime. And He's faithful to complete it. I didn't complete it. He did. I just obeyed, and I took the steps. And I followed in His wisdom, not my own. I refused to contemplate with my flesh anymore. I'd rather contemplate with God, because it's His wisdom. So He gave me those works in the meantime. He's faithful to complete it. When we put it on the market, I was honest and I said, I want to steward this well and be accountable for it. So I sought out wisdom from God and people He had put in my life to give me advice. Mind you, I had other desires of my own, but when I surrendered my desires and my dreams to pursue God's desires and His dreams, He worked all things out. It was that act of surrender. Physically going to the altar and saying, God, these are my desires, these are my dreams, but I'm giving them to you because I want your dreams. Your dreams for me are always going to be better than my own dreams. So my brother's a very busy man. Really, really busy. And so I've been just touching points with him and the things that God has asked me to do in regards to everything with the final sale of the house. So my realtor called me to come in after work on Friday. And so I went in, and my brother's office is in the same building. Now this would be all God, because when I drove into the parking lot to park, my brother's car was in his slot. That never happens. You can ask my kids, he's never in his office. But Friday, he was in his office. So this was all God. And I was like, wow, God, this is all you. Anyway, long story short, the things that were in preparation and the planning, in the obedience that I took when God said, you go here, you ask them, you do this, and you do that. Just those little acts of obedience brought everything together for God's plan and purposes. And I had so much peace. Because I could have chose to be anxious. I could have chose to start, allowing my flesh to just take me away with everything. But I chose to be in the presence of God. And I just kept talking to Him all the way from Istanbul, all the way to Tumon. I just kept talking to God. I said, Lord, I need to stay focused on you. I need to stay focused on you. And so God prepared and the planning, and they were all coming into our life. God's amazing. But the best part, all of this is God, and these are the manifestations of His provision. And He's faithful, right? He's Jehovah Jireh. But the best part of my testimony is experience the fullness of God's love in all of this. His love for me. He loves us all, but He loves us all in a different way, for different purposes. But I was able to experience that. The provision was great. Don't get me wrong. No, praise God. But He's always faithful to provide. But to be personally in tune, in hearing and doing what He asks is the best part. It is experiencing Him in the process of surrender and obedience. That manifests His love, which just blows me away every single time. I was in tears all afternoon Friday. I was so overwhelmed by God and His love for me. I just couldn't. We went to worship Friday night, and as it, I was still like, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to say so much to praise God, and I just didn't have the words. I was so overwhelmed. And so, for Him to manifest His love and blows me away, it's to be in the will and purposes of God, like what Paula talked about in her sermons, and walking in the will now. The courtship and cultivation of my relationship with Him is manifested. It was like Jesus got on one knee and asked me to marry Him. And I said yes. When I said yes to God, everything from heaven flooded down on me. And Friday night was the perfect example of lifting, testify. I just couldn't, I was stuttering the whole time I was trying to be praising God with all of the love that was overflowing in my heart. Like we sang, He calls us friend. But it was more than just a friend. It was His love for me. And I felt like, even as I was talking to God before giving my testimony, I want to honor Mike and Sally. Because when God showed me all of this at the end of the week, I looked at Mike and Sally and I watched them and their marriage and their relationship together. And it's the perfect example of Christ in us as individuals. The love they have for each other and the love that they have for God, it's amazing. And when when God hears my heart of the love affair that I want to have with Him, He showed it as an example through my grandfather. He said, I want to honor you, Mama and Papa, that, just how you show the example of Christ in your individual people, persons